Testing. Hot outbound count. 1, 2, 3, 4. You on the air?
The Honeymooners Podcast. The only podcast that is all about the greatest show of all time. With the stars, Joe Conti and Louis Fats.
All right, howdy, fellow raccoons. Welcome. It's the second installment of the Honeymooners Podcast, the only podcast all about the greatest show of all time. I am Joe Conti, and this is my partner, Louis Fats.
I'm here.
That's right. He's on the air?
On the air.
That's right. And this is our second episode, and hopefully this episode will start to get into what we want to do with this podcast. Last week, whatever it was, number one episode, kind of gave you an idea of why we're doing this.
Yes.
Why would we do a podcast about a show that hasn't been on the air for 65 years?
Exactly.
What is wrong with these two lunatics? These two.
Nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing. Well, there's a lot wrong with us, but none of it has to do with this actual podcast. And I'm liking the fact that when I tell people, because as we're doing this episode, the show is just starting to come out now. So we're just starting to get some feedback from people that are finding out that we're doing this. And almost everybody is like, this is great. I can't wait to hear it. And I can't wait to disappoint every single one of them with my boring rendition of the greatest show of all time.
We're going to ruin it.
It's ruined. Yeah, so like we said, last week, kind of let people know what was going on. And hopefully you'll really get a feel for what we want to do. Because like we were saying right before we went on, is that when you become such a big fan of a show, you really start to see, like you say, way beyond the bang zoom.
Exactly. You look in the background.
Yeah.
You look beyond the characters sometimes because we basically know what they're going to say.
Right.
Now, we still watch it because the delivery is impeccable.
Right.
And we still laugh.
Yeah.
But sometimes we just look beyond it just to see what's going on in the background.
Yeah. It's like being in love with. It's like being with your mate and you're in love. It's not just about, hey, she's got great assets and she looks good and she's got beautiful eyes, or he has great abs. It's what is behind the person, and we are all about what's behind the show. What is the little things that Art Carney would do, like when he wasn't supposed to do anything.
Right. We're going to delve into the mind of Ed Norton.
It'll be
and actually see if there's something going on in there.
It's the shallow end of the pool. But yeah, so that's where we want to go to. And I know that you brought up before we even started, and I think it's a great point. It's kind of like the economics of the four main characters, obviously.
Yes, that blue collar existence,
right,
is so key.
Yeah,
are they satisfied with it? Are they not? Ralph's always trying to hit the high note.
Right. It's some sort of scheme.
Yeah,
right.
Some kind of, like Alice say, some crazy harebrained scheme.
Right.
That never works out.
Never.
And he's still back to being the bus driver.
Yeah.
And so that is, their economic status has a lot to do with themes of the show and how they, now I grew up in a blue collar neighborhood, so I understand like what my dad did for a living, his friends did for a living. I understand they were the Nortons and Cramdens of the world.
And that's
so
what Gleason wanted. And that's what Gleason wanted to do. He wanted to appeal to the masses.
Yes.
Which makes sense. Mm-hmm. But he also was going with what he saw growing up in Brooklyn.
Right.
Seeing, even though he really didn't have a relationship with his father.
No.
Seeing all of the kids and just the people in his neighborhood. Right. Just what they did, regular people doing regular things every single day.
And he's growing up in Brooklyn, that ethnic diversity that you see in the neighborhood, especially back in the 30s when he's growing up. You have the Irish and the Italians, and Jewish, and that's what you get. So, and you see it in the show, like the character Mrs. Monicati, probably represents every Italian that he ever grew up with.
Yes,
because a lot of the names he uses in the show are Irish.
Yeah. And they also, and then they'll do Nat Birnbaum.
Yes, Nat Birnbaum.
They'll do Mrs. Schwartz.
Mrs. Schwartz,
the blabbermouth.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So they were like these characters that some of them were the characters you've seen, and some of them you wouldn't see.
You wouldn't see.
Right. They were just people that you heard of.
Right.
And we'll get into that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But yeah, it's and it is strange how, like you said, like all the things that they do, they bowl, right?
Right.
They play pool. Right.
They belong to that lodge.
The lodge, which all the crazy get-ups and their fees and the things that they got to do. Real quick, the one episode when he's trying to get the money and he says he needs his dues,
right?
$15, and he goes, "These are my pals, my buddies, my friends. They'll throw me out in front of them." He didn't get a big.
No, it didn't. But
it deserved a bigger laugh.
It did
because he's proclaiming the love that they have for him,
and they'll throw him out.
And they'll throw him out if he's 1 month behind. Just done. Take care, buddy. And there were a lot of that where you just didn't.
And it's kind of funny you bring that up because, like I said, I'm always looking in the background.
Right.
And every time there's a scene in the Raccoon Lodge, there's a chalkboard in the back. And it's always like members in arrears, dues in arrears, and his name's always on
it. Always on there. I always just see names, and you'll see certain names, and I know a couple of them are like guys for like the producers.
Philbin and Shore. You'll see those two names all the time.
Right. Yep. Philbin. I always would see Philbin in a line. And
Shore.
It'll be
with a line through it. Somebody has a line through it like they paid.
Right. Yes.
They're like, you're off the board now. You came up with your $15.
Yeah. But that was the key where you're watching them do all of the and that was and we were saying right before the show how we saw that Norton seemed very satisfied and very happy being in the sewer.
Being a sewer worker, he was satisfied, no aspiration. Right. Although the one time he does take the civil service test, but it's also sewer inspector. It also has to do with the sewer.
The sewer, right.
He'd be like a fish out of water if he wasn't working in the sewer.
Exactly. 2 times they used that joke in the series. There were a couple times they repeated. There were like 3 jokes that they did 2 different times, which I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
No.
It was great all 3 times.
Yeah. Yes. And then we were like, well, the person that you maybe feel for the most would be Alice.
Yes.
Because her character was basically trapped with these 4 walls.
Yes.
And she really had, she would try to, better themselves or try to get some other things, and it would never work.
Because she looked like she had some kind of intelligence to her.
Yes.
That she shouldn't be there.
Right.
That she should be doing something for what women did in the 50s. We got to go do, because that's what it was.
Right.
But she should have been doing something. Even if it were like when she said when that one time she does go back to work for Tony,
right?
She took a stenography and
typing.
She could have been an office worker back in the day. Back in the day when they had typewriters, and, and things like that, and stenography. She could have did that,
and she definitely represented true feminism. And the true feminism was, hey, listen, I'm going to do what I want to do, whether it's cleaning the house. Or I'll go out and get a job. I love you, and it's about us.
Right.
And the thing was that, and she was never afraid.
No.
When he would blow his top, she was never afraid.
No, never afraid. Never. No. She would never. You would never think her to turn and run in the bedroom and lock the door on Ralph because she knew that Ralph was not laying one finger on her.
No.
She knew it because she would stand there like not even intimidated, like waiting for the big wind to blow over.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
And to think she left a good job in the laundry for that.
It is. It's oddly enough, my wife is a ginger, like a red-haired also, and my wife doesn't even flinch. Like I'll joke around with her. I'll be like, pretend I'm gonna not when we're arguing, but I'll be like, oh, go at her, like I'm gonna punch her or something. It's not even close.
No,
she doesn't even come close to it. But. And I think, look, obviously, Audrey Meadows made the character phenomenal because she was just so great. Mm-hmm. But and it just seemed that she was the backbone of their in their economics.
Without a doubt.
He had to ask her how much money they have.
Yeah,
$12.83.
Right. Yeah, $75 and we're hanging around here grading interest. And she's also the logical one.
Yes.
You know, she just brings Ralph down to even the time when he finds the money.
Right.
Right away, she says.
She's like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Something fishy
wrong
going on here. Right.
When he's on the $99,000 answer, stop at $600.
Right.
Now think about that.
Now, I'll be honest. That was the only time that I felt that she didn't have, like, why wouldn't you at least really really try to get as much knowledge?
Exactly.
She was like, look, stupid,
Yeah.
you're never going to be able to do this. Why don't you just take the $600 and go home?
Oh.
And that was the only time I felt that she wasn't behind him.
No.
Or her rationale wasn't correct.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to go for the $99,000, but at least, hey, you're going on a big game show. Might as well study up on it.
I mean, when you look at $600 compared to $99,000,
Right.
it's peanuts.
Yeah. Peanuts. What am I going to do with peanuts?
Eat them like any other elephant.
But yeah, so there was that aspect of it. But he never seemed, and it just makes sense because if you look at Ralph Cramden's, not Ralph, Ed Norton's demeanor. First of all, he was in good shape, right?
Yeah.
His demeanor was a lot happier. Mm-hmm. You know, he never seemed to have any physical ailments except for sleepwalking.
Right.
And he was the little sneezy when the dog's around. Yeah. But because he was happy.
Yeah. And he had all the toys of the day.
Right. Yeah.
Well, Ralph had nothing.
Right.
I mean, not even the TV. Ed had because I have 19 accounts going down there now.
Yeah, exactly.
So he had like all the little toys of the day.
Right. So. And he just always seemed happy. And Ralph was always, he was always like ornery and miserable. And, it showed and obviously in the character of being, that kind of guy. Mm-hmm. So you just wonder, like, that is exactly why he was the way he was.
Yeah.
And it works out perfectly.
Yeah, because we know that they're economically, salary-wise,
basically the same.
Because Alice says that Ed Norton makes the same amount of money you do, and we know that Ralph made $62 a week.
$62 a week.
So Norton's got to be making around the same. Living in the same apartment, they're paying the same rent.
Yeah.
Trixie doesn't work. Alice doesn't work.
Yeah.
But Norton has all his things. He has his toys of the day.
Yeah. You just wonder. And
amazing characters.
Whenever you hear about the money, because even though you were just born at the time, so you don't remember the late 50s, obviously.
No, I don't.
I was born in '69. So when I sit there and when they'll use certain things, like when it came with the money, the $100 bills, like what was that worth? Like what was 62? I would always think like $62 a week. Then was he making $400 a week? I don't.
Well, you would probably equate it to basically what a bus driver makes today. Whatever it is, you can't put it like just a multiplier to that 62.
Right.
So bus drivers make decent money.
I would assume so, right?
To be, to live like, and they were just living that little, in that little 2-room flat.
Yeah. And obviously they made it so it looked like
to make it look like that.
Yeah, to make it look really
it brings out the character of Ralph.
Of course, right. Of being the poor soul.
The poor soul.
Which is where he got the character from, right?
Which is one of his characters, right,
on
his
variety
show. On his variety show.
Yep.
The poor soul. Now, speaking of the variety show, when the Honeymooners first came out on the variety show, the character of Alice, we're talking before Audrey Meadows, I forgot her name, Pert something, I can't remember it right now. She was kind of like a more Haggy type person. And really more of that blue-collarish.
And a little bit more rough.
Yes.
But so was he. He yelled a lot. That's why I noticed in the lost episodes, and I think that's why they were lost episodes, because they were still molding this show, these characters, because in the lost episodes, he's screaming all the time.
At everything.
It loses its, it's just like anything else. If you do something, and if,
it's the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
It's basically, if you keep on yelling, then the yelling doesn't become funny anymore, because it's just
the
way it is. It's just the way it is, the way you're speaking.
Right. And he and he'll have that little moment where he's like sweet or something, but when they really perfected it, he was just kind of regular guy, a
Yeah.
little ornery.
Yes,
but
yeah.
then he'd have to get steamed to be yelling.
Yep.
And in the old episodes, he was just screaming the whole
constantly,
time.
constantly.
And that's probably why those episodes, they were what they were. They
Exactly.
were
That's why they're the
episodes.
lost episode.
Exactly. That's why they're not the original 39 that were put out on CBS in 1955.
55.
Yeah, I think it was 55.
55. The October 1, I believe, is the October 1, 55. I believe is the first episode.
First
Could be
one.
wrong, but on the day. But I believe it's October of 55.
Yeah,
Episode
and
1.
the Christmas one actually fell on Christmas Eve.
Did it? That's why I didn't know.
Yep,
that.
it was. It was shown on Christmas Eve, 2000. Yeah, 2055.
Now I remember when I first started watching them, and speaking of the Christmas one, they never came out at the end when they came out of character through the
curtains.
The curtains, yeah.
Right.
That kind of was added towards more recent showings of the episodes. I don't ever remember seeing that.
Oh,
when
you
I
mean
first started watching them, it was just cut out. It was just cut out.
Oh.
And they started adding it again towards more recently.
Right.
You see them coming out of character.
Right. Well, they only did it the one time.
That
right?
one time.
But
The
so
one
they
time.
used it like not even show
Not
that.
even show it.
Really?
Yeah. Not even show it.
And for anybody, it's the Christmas episode where when the show ends, he's like, "Well, wait a minute," and he opens up the curtains and he's like, the Mr. Mr. and Mrs. Cramden and
Right.
the
Bring the
Nortons to wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Because he even says we never come out of character.
Right. Character. He even says it a little
Yeah.
different. Like all of a sudden, he's not Cramden anymore. He's
Yeah,
Gleason.
he's Gleason.
Because he just, he's like, yeah, we usually don't step out of character. He's almost like he sounds regal.
Yeah.
He sounds like a regal who a regal guy who hasn't gone out drinking yet and womanizing for the evening.
Go over to Toots George, yeah.
Yeah. So I love the economic aspect of it
Yeah.
because, it's basically even though the whole thing is just based on friendship and love. It's friendship and love, but the driving force behind it is that wanting to hit the high note, so to
Yes.
speak. The big score. And obviously, and let me tell you something. When she goes through all the different things that he failed on, all his bad ideas.
Right.
They do away with lights, wallpaper that glows in the dark. That is brilliant.
That's brilliant, yeah.
Brilliant.
Uranium
First of
mining
all, I'm sitting here
Asbury
going,
Park.
that might not be a bad
idea, yeah.
Because once it's dark, it's not going to be on when it's day.
No cow pizza.
No. I want to know if there's like no cow. I want no cow pizza, all right? I will take the no cow pizza. I wish he would have came up with no cow pizza. But yeah, so it's I always love. See, I'm a dates guy, all right? I'm one of those where if you said, well, when did this movie come out, I'll tell you the year. When I was a kid, I learned by myself how to read Roman numerals.
Okay.
Because at the end of TV shows and movies, I
have the date
wanted
in
to
Roman
know,
numerals,
I needed to know when it was made. So I learned just by reading that. And so that's why.
We had to learn them. I went to Catholic school,
yeah.
so I knew Roman numerals.
You had to learn it.
We had to learn them.
I learned who Pontius Pilate was, and I know what M stands for. All right. Yeah. So it's fun to watch. Anytime there's any sorts of number thing, whether it's the five. Think about it. The amount of money it cost for the costumes. For $5, I can go for with Billy the Kid.
Billy the Kid.
Right.
Now think about that. $10. He wants to go as King Henry VIII.
Right.
Okay. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That is a lot of money
To win
back then.
50.
So when
If
you're
he's making $62 a week, he's talking about almost making your weekly paycheck.
Yeah. That's 1/6
Yeah.
of your total salary.
Exactly. And he was such a piece of garbage. He actually went to go and borrow it from Ed.
Right.
And then when he ended up already having it, he thought he stole his idea from it, which is ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
But I was always thinking of like when they would play a Nicola ball.
Yeah.
When they were playing pool.
Pool, yeah.
It's like, man, Because he would always say, let's go back to penny, back to a penny a ball.
You owe me 19 cents.
Yeah.
Remember? I think when they were playing cards or something.
Playing cards, yeah. Gin.
Gin. Like
it's 14,000 and a point. You owe me 19 cents.
We're not done yet. I don't know. And he didn't even want to pay him the 19 cents.
He wanted to pay the 19 cents. The worst friend ever. But yeah, I was always like just trying to, because they never taught. I don't think they mentioned like when she would go get sauerkraut or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't think they meant. No, but they did. They did the.
Well, the one thing was the butter when he was trying to get the ring off his fingers.
Right.
At 89 cents a pound.
Right. And I don't know if they went by numbers or did they just go by what? Because comedically, there are certain sounds and certain numbers that are better.
Right.
They work better, so they might have just went at 89 cents a pound.
It just comes out well. It sounds good.
It worked because it's hilarious.
Yes.
But then there was also the chopped meat.
Chopped meat,
chopped meat was 58 cents a pound.
58 cents a pound, sweetie pie.
Right. So it's like, well, 58 cents a pound, that actually sounds very expensive.
It does.
For then.
Yeah, for then.
It is wacky. It really is.
Even the one where, in the arterial monochromia one, when Alice says to, talking to Trixie about the doctor, she had to take the Ginger, the dog, her mother's dog, to the doctor.
Yep.
He said, she goes, you know how much it cost? $10. Think about that.
She goes, $10 for a dog?
$10 back then.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I just went and when I go get my dog, and we went and we just did something. My dog, Gleason, by the way, my corgi, he's on Instagram. I can't believe my dog has an Instagram account.
I don't even have one.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only reason I ended up getting one. I'm like, my wife made one for him, and he had all these people started following him. I'm like, my dog's not going to have an Instagram account, and I'm not going to. All right? That's it. But, yeah, so you just, I was trying to think, like, $10, but you know what? I went to go get my dog, and they just had to go get they just gave him, like, one shot or something, and it was $250.
Yeah.
And they clipped his nails. $250 for a dog?
For a dog. Yeah. Think about it.
Yeah.
Because she says Ralph only went to the doctor and only cost him $3.
$3, yeah.
Stuff is great.
Yeah. Stuff is great. All right. Well, I think you know what, we got a little bit into the economics of it.
Yeah, I think
today.
we did. I think we covered it pretty well.
Yeah,
when you're talking about it, like, of course, the people in the neighborhood are basically doing the same jobs. Like one guy works at the brewery, and who's this and who's that, and
they had
one of
the
Undertaker, Drevin's the Undertaker,
the Undertaker,
and that's what they do. Yeah, that's what they did.
Yep,
and it's amazing that the economics has so much to do with the show.
Yeah. And
but think about it, though. When
never
you
thought of that until you told me.
When you think about it, when they're bowling or they're at the lodge or they're shooting pool, they're always doing something.
Yes. They weren't scrolling Facebook back then.
No, they were in their house and they're out.
Yeah.
So basically their wives are by themselves, and I guess they did their things together. Like Alice was always going to the movies, catching a movie. Well, she had to have TV.
She had no TV.
She had no choice. She had to go to a movie.
Yeah, she couldn't use the radio because he used it for his costume.
So that's what they did, and it seems too also that, Alice and Trixie are fine with it. Because that's what the men did.
Yeah.
It's what the men did.
Yeah. And I don't think they wanted them to or at least the creators or Gleason wanted to wives to, and I'm guessing, to come off like whiny, just strong, because you know what? They were both strong women.
They were.
They just chose to, back then it was the 50s, and they just chose, hey, you know what? This is what I do.
This is what I do.
But I'm not taking crap from my husband.
Nope.
And, if I want to go out to the movies, I'm going to the movies.
Because Trixie liked it or lumped it. And she lumped it. So.
All right. All right. That's it for our second episode. I hope you liked it. Oh, yes, that's right. I forgot. We have the trivia question from last week, and we will give you the answer and remind everybody what the trivia question was from last week.
Okay, last week's, our first episode's trivia question was, what was Uncle Leo's wife's name? Now, me and Joe figured that's kind of we have 3 levels here. That's kind of a level 2, we would say. Yeah, 2, 3.
2 or 3.
2 or 3. 2 to 3. Level 1 is very easy. This is level 2 or 3. So the answer is Sarah.
But the interesting thing is that he flubbed the name when he said it.
Yes. Because Sarah loved to have you come up to Utica.
Yeah, and Sarah. Somehow Sarah became 4 syllables when he said it. Somehow, me and Sahara. Yeah, she's a little bit dry. Yeah, but he said that in my aching back when he starts smacking him on the back, saying, it's good to see you. But he says, me and Sarah would love to have you.
Love to have you.
Come up to Utica. Yeah.
And me and Joe figured out that it would take to get from Brooklyn to Utica back in 1955 about 6 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Stopping for gas every
throughway.
Yes, just driving in between trees like a slalom,
and leaving at 8 o'clock at night. Some things were meant to be delve into that much, but that's what we do.
All right.
Okay, so this week's trivia, we're going to call this a level 3.
Oh, this is
I'm going to say a level 3.
Okay.
What was Ralph's blood type?
Very good. Very good.
So ponder that one.
All right.
Until our next show.
All right, raccoons, and I don't know, what can we call them besides just fellow raccoons?
I don't know.
I got to think of it. I'm trying to be a little wacky and corny. Be like, hello, raccoons and racconettes or something. I don't know, but until next time, keep checking out the show. Take the show. And if you're on iTunes, give us a review, put 5 stars, and share it with people that love the show, who love the Honeymooners. And that's about it. And also for me, since I do my other show, I am also a comedian. But if you want to check out my other show, it's more of a radio show / podcast. It's called The Conti and Kenny Show. And we go live every Monday night at 7 o'clock on morelikeradio.com. Look up Conti and Kenny. Anything on me on social media is Joe Conti Comedian, and Louis has nothing.
Nothing. I watch The Price is Right during the day.
If you want to catch Louis, he'll be walking around in a mall with maybe just trying to catch a little bit of, because instead of going out and walking around.
By the way, malls are very empty today.
Oh, man. But all right. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
We'll have to do this again real soon.
How about tomorrow night?
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer, Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.